It is simply said that you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Here I present to you comprehensive interview between Simon Ekpa and Nnamdi Kanu, Buruburu of Africa, ONYENDU one of Biafra land. This is an interview you will not miss. As you follow this discussion, or as you follow this interview, and at the end of this interview, after listening, it will widen the scope of your understanding, your reasoning, and wisdom. And it will bring you directly in a way that you will adjust your responsibility towards the actualization of Biafra. In whichever camp you belong, something, somehow, must happen. Enjoy it.
Starting based on three principles. The first principle is the freedom of speech. We are going to visit, what the freedom of speech says, especially most of the international laws about the freedom of speech. And then after that, we go to the state formation, what is being recognized as state. What is the statehood when people, a group of indigenous people or people of same ethnic group are agitating or wanting the freedom or independent or sovereignty state. We are going to go very briefly on that. And then the third one will be on the international standard, the international standard of freedom of first the international standard of freedom of expression. Two is what the IPOB has filed in 2016 to the International Criminal Court. This communication was done in 2016 by Professor Goran Slota and Andrew Lunazi. You are very, very conversant with that. And then after that, we start the program. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why do we have to make references to these three issues I've mentioned here? Is because a lot of people will say that, okay, what you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way, wait for international community to intervene and all that. But we want to tell them this evening that all these things they are saying, the IPOB under your leadership has done even more than expected. And there is nothing to show for it anywhere today. You have written to International Criminal Court. You have hired some of the best lobbyists all over the world. You have done all this, and today we are going to show it to the public for the very first time, the application filed to the ICC in 2016. I know you'll be very surprised that I'm talking. Are you hearing me?
Loud and clear, Simon. I'm hearing you. Please.
So I'm going to put the application IPOB under your leadership filed to the International Criminal Court in 2016.
Yes.
We are only going to read because it is about 93 pages. So when people are talking, they are saying something they know nothing about. They don't know how far you have gone with the IPOB, especially to get justice for what the Nigerian government has done to our people. So today I am going to release only one tip of the iceberg, and I'm doing it for the very first time on this program. It's going to be on the screen very shortly. because this program is going to be completely different than what normal what we have been doing all this while. Is going to be completely different. And then also, if the attack is too much, that they couldn't allow us to do something, or do it the way I wanted to do it, then what we have to do is that we may have to reschedule, and I will set up a Zoom, because I'll be getting a lot of messages from different media as I'm talking to you right now. I'll be getting a lot of messages from different media houses, and they are telling me what to do. They are telling me to do this and do that. So if this doesn't work out, we have to now.
We can have a discussion, and then we can present the evidence afterwards. We can have a discussion today, and then the evidence will be presented later.
Exactly.
But I do thank the viewers and listeners for their patience. They've been patiently waiting, and I can see that the numbers are back up again to where it was before we were rudely interrupted. But we must proceed. We must proceed. Yes.
So before we go forward, could you tell our viewers a little bit about this application I've just mentioned to you, filed in 2016?
In 2016, our lawyers, should I say our attorneys in Europe, approached the ICC to make or to present a very compelling case about the human rights abuses being perpetrated by the Nigerian government against the people of Biafra. As you well know, Gordon did a very wonderful work. That was in 2016. Also in 2017, additional work was done by our lawyers here in the United States of America. In 2018, additional work was done by our lawyers back home. In 2019, we hired one of the top human rights lawyers in the world to litigate this very matter before the ICC against the Nigerian government. In that same 2019, and as you said, I believe for the very first time, I'm providing clarity on this very matter, I went to the ICC myself. I was deposed. I told them exactly what was happening. They said we shouldn't discuss it when we got outside, and we've been waiting. Since 2019, we're in 2021. And instead of doing something about the very relentless pursuit of the Biafran people, the Nigerian government has been emboldened, the zoo has been emboldened into killing our people, not just killing us. We have now arrived at a situation where our women are being abducted and raped in the north because ICC failed to do something for how many years now? 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. We hired people in The Hague on a permanent basis, paying them tons of money to be collecting all this evidence against the Nigerian government for the sole purpose of bringing this matter before the ICC, at least for them to investigate. But due to the overwhelming political pressure on them, they have not been able to do anything about it. The only reason why they issued some kind of statement a few weeks ago, or should I say a couple of months ago, was because of the NSAS protests. If not, they would have mentioned it. I am in the United States of America, where we've hired a very top lobbying firm at Washington, D.C. at huge expense, I must tell you. You also know about the submissions we made to the United Nations. Angela Calamar's report, everyone has read it. We went there, IPOB, she mentioned IPOB and Biafra. You can see that report on human rights abuses in the zoo. I have been to Geneva. I sat down with United Nations officials in Geneva. I have been to the EU. Most of them have been to the House of Lords to make a presentation before Baroness Cox. I have been to Capitol Hill here in the United States of America, in Washington, to present our case. So where else do you want us to take our cases to before something is done about it? These are the things that people don't understand. Most of the contracts, most of the work we are doing, you cannot see them. You cannot write about them or talk about them. If not for this very program, I won't be discussing this. But it's about time our people realize that we are doing all we can to present all this catalog of abuse and degradation before the conscience of the international community. But unfortunately, Britain is working for Nigeria. There is what I call a climate of neocolonialism still prevalent in Nigeria, and they still see Nigeria as a contraption they created. They still see Nigeria as a place they can come to Biafra and take our oil and gas without paying for it. Therefore, anything that can sustain the false unity of Nigeria is what they are going to encourage. They see Biafra agitation as an antithesis to that very plan which they have, which is to keep this contraption together for them to have unfettered and unrestricted access to our resources. And that is what has been happening. But unfortunately, our people are not intelligent enough to understand it. Every year we spend money. We have somebody in The Hague right now collecting all the evidence, the rape cases, everything, all the murders, all the unprovoked attacks and invasions, everything. But for ICC to call up that very case is another problem. When I say that Biafra is going to be the last miracle on earth, people don't quite understand what I mean by that. Biafrans don't know the number of people and forces against them. They don't understand it. Those of us at the cold face of this struggle, deep inside it, we know who our enemies are, and they are numerous. But I am very, very confident of victory, because the God we serve is the one that made this very universe, and his words must prevail. And on that very promise, we anchor our hope, we rest all that we are doing to restore Biafra. And we know that in the end that Biafra will come. We have a lot of enemies, you know. We've not done anything to them. It's Biafrans that built America. We built this very country that I'm in today. Biafrans built the United States of America. The majority of all the hard-working free men and women they took from the western coast of Africa, they shipped them to the USA. They are the ones that made this country great. So they see something in us that we cannot see. They know we are very productive. They know we are hardworking. But above all, Britain knows that we are blessed. It is that blessing from God that Britain doesn't want to see rise up in Africa. And that is why they're using very primitive Fulani people to try to suppress us. You saw yesterday that Britain, BBC was advertising army positions, asking you, even telling you what to go and get the forms to join the Nigerian army. And I know that BBC functions on tax, or should I say license fee payers money in the UK. They don't accept any advert. So how come BBC Pidgin in Nigeria is advertising for people to join the army of Nigeria for free? Because they are, of course, agents of neocolonialism. They're working for Britain. They want Nigerian army ranks to swell up so they can suppress any measure of uprising against the very decaying, crumbling, damnable zoological republic. What our people need to realize is this. What we go through on a daily basis to ensure that our cases are heard all over the world is immense, everywhere, especially here in the USA. But if the world continues to turn a blind eye and they continue to kill, to rape, to murder, to slaughter people, to take our land, they expect us to put our hands and do nothing? The answer is no, of course. We must fight because we have our backs now against the wall, and that's what we're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ohamadike, one of Biafra. Another thing I want to, this is just an introduction to what we are going to discuss this evening. Another thing I want to ask you is that, there is a man called Peter Smithers. Peter Smithers in 1998, wrote a Nigeria lesson from Sir Smithers. Sir Smithers said the negotiation that the Nigeria as a state was a grave mistake. After 40 years, it is clear that this was a grave mistake which has cost many lives and will probably continue to do so. It would have been better to establish several smaller states in a free trade area. The exculpation, it must be said, that we did not then have the examples of the collapse of Yugoslavia and of the Soviet Union before our eyes. This was a man who was the parliamentary private secretary to the Minister of State and the Secretary of State in the Colonial Office 1952 to 1959. Can you tell us more about what you feel he is trying to do here?
What he's trying to do is to draw our attention to the incompatibility of the various ethnic nationalities you have that make up Nigeria, but more importantly, to draw our attention to the irreducibility of value system in determining who should belong with who in any nation. It's quite interesting that he used Yugoslavia as an example. The funniest thing that people don't understand about Yugoslavia is that they are all one Slavic people. They are all Slavic people, as you have with Russia and Bulgaria and all the rest of them. They are all Slavic people. They are one people, one race. They are predominantly Christians. Of course, you have in Bosnia and Herzegovina, during the march of Islam into Europe, that a few of them became Muslims, as you have in some parts of Kosovo and also in Albania. What I am trying to point out is this: if people who are one race, predominantly one religion, cannot live together in a country called Yugoslavia, how about people who are from Senegambia and goodness knows where else? Not the same language, not the same religion, not the same traditions, not the same culture, absolutely nothing. How can you make these people become one nation? Is not possible. There is something we've talked about before that most Africans don't seem to pay much attention to. We are tribal animals by nature. Africans are tribal by nature. That is why every Christmas, every New Year festival, every August, we travel back to the village. Even if you live in Kaduna, somebody will ask you, where are you from? You say, I'm from Ijeoma. Because that is where your ancestors come from. In Africa, we come from where our ancestors come from. But white Europeans can travel to Australia and they're comfortable. They're from Australia. They can travel to New Zealand. They're from New Zealand. They're okay with it. But even if you take us to New Zealand and we stay there for 1,000,000 years, if you ask us where we come from, I will come from Iberia. That is something that is very unique to Africa, and nobody can take that away from us. And that is something that most people do not understand nor have an appreciation for. That is why in Africa, everywhere you go to, be it in Kenya, in Ethiopia, in South Africa, everywhere, people still talk about tribe till tomorrow morning because we are different. So rather than trying to experiment with us in this sort of very colonial, artificial construct, because mind you, all states in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, are all racist constructs. Those that developed or created Nigeria, that created Togo, that created Ghana, they had racism in mind. not your interest. And this is what we've been trying to explain to African people. If not, why would we go to Lagos during a revolution, should I say a mini revolution, a protest? And people of Lagos, Yoruba people are saying, oh, that Igbos came here to destroy their buildings. But you are all one Nigeria, you claim. These are the things that people need to appreciate. We don't want Fulanis in our land for the simple reason that we don't want to dilute.
Attention, attention. IPOB, one family. This announcement.
Can you hear me?
Sorry about that.
It's okay. What I'm trying to point out, Simon, is this. Forget about all the one Africa. I'm a Pan-Africanist. But we need to start organically. We need to go back to where we come from and begin to build a consensus from the grassroots. When Biafra want to join Oduduwa in forming a nation, we look at all the pros and cons and then reconcile all these things, and then we move together as one. Look at Britain that gave Nigeria, so that colonized and still owns Nigeria till tomorrow morning. Scotland wants to be on their own. Wales will be on their own very soon. Northern Ireland will live to be on their own. That is human nature. You cannot take it away from us. The only reason why they have Nigeria together the way it is, and why we have been complaining, and why authors and great commentators like the man you alluded to has not gotten any traction in terms of people being able to understand and appreciate what we're saying, is because of the way we reason. I say this all the time. Professor Wole Soyinka, a great literary giant, I would say, came out the other day to say that he is fed up with there is war on his doorstep. He knows very well, as an intellectual, so to speak, that the reason why the war is on his doorstep is because Nigeria is flawed. If Oduduwa were to be on their own, do you think somebody will go to, any cow will go to Soyinka's farm to eat the cabbage or the carrots? It won't happen. These are things that we need to understand, that first and foremost, we are tribal animals because life as we know it started in Africa. We are attached to the land we come from. That is who we are. Because the white man can be born in England and come to America to settle for life and say he or she is an American, doesn't mean we have to follow them. Thank you.
Thank you, ONYENDU. Now let us now go from the fundamental in the sense that, you know, when people are hearing that we are agitating for Biafra, we want Biafra, some of them in the West, we say the political elite are not shouting Biafra, that they are only those who are in diaspora, you know, like civilized ones are the ones shouting for Biafra. And this fact, a lot of people don't know. When you look at it, you find out that 99% of people in Biafra are shouting Biafra. 99% of Biafrans in Nigeria are shouting for Biafra. Only 1%, not even up to 1% of this so-called elite. These are the politicians that have been benefited from Nigeria. Now, I want us to look at how will disintegrated Nigeria favor the region before we come into the crisis and the lives that have been lost as a result of trying to keep one Nigeria. Can you tell us, how do you think that a disintegrated Nigeria will favor the Fulani themselves, the Hausa themselves, the Middle Belt, the Oduduwas, the Biafrans, and any other nation that will want to come out of Nigeria? Explain to us. Let us hear.
Before I came on this your fantastic program today, I read a very brilliant piece, or should I say a comment by somebody. The person said that Nigeria is the only place he knows where yesterday is better than today. Ask yourself, at which point in Nigeria's history did they record the highest level of human development? It was when they were on their own, when they were semi-autonomous regions. So there is an already made example there for people to reference, should they wish to do so. It was when this unitary mindset came into existence that things started to fall apart. So if when you were on your own, The North was doing very well, the West was doing very well. Opera had the fastest growing economy in the world at nearly 48% every year. Awolowo did his magic in the West. Now tell me, you have a simple example when people were, should I say, semi-autonomous, or should I say autonomous, so to speak, they were doing very well. Now you are together in one Nigeria. Everything is falling apart to the extent that people are coming from Mali, from Senegambia, from Niger, from Chad, in your backyard, raping and killing you. It's a no-brainer. It's simple common sense. As I said before, that is who we are. Because once you allow an element of stress, an infusion of competition, you get the best out of the people. Right now, we do not have that. Right now, there is no competition. Right now, this thing about one Nigeria, unity is stifling the creative potentials in us, all of us. Yoruba is not doing well. Biafra is not doing well. Middle Belt is not doing well. The North is not doing well. Nobody is doing well. Then you ask yourself, all these glorious reference to our past, what period was it? The only period was between 1960 to 1965. And then you had regions. Who can argue with that? So the more you separate, the more you look inwards, the more you look at yourself, the more you become self-reliant, the more you... Do you know that in those days, all the regions that they had embassies abroad? Do you know that? Do you know Eastern region had their own embassies abroad with their flag? Are you aware of that? Most people don't know this. And that was the time that Nigeria witnessed a semblance of growth in terms of human development. Now you have a very, should I say, disgraceful contraption called One Nigeria. And everybody is struggling. Cows are making your lives a misery. If you don't know that going back to autonomy is the best way forward, then there is something wrong with that person.
ONYENDU, thank you very much. Just because you know everything we do in Biafra, we stand by the truth. We do everything with evidence and fact. Just to back up what you have just said, I told you about 93 pages of application filed to the ICC. Barely few years of formation of IPOB, because this was in 2016. Barely 2 years, the foundation of Nigeria were shaken by the formation of IPOB and the activity of the IPOB in Nigeria. So on that ground, this application was filed in 2016 January. So I am bringing it to the screen now for people to see. For those who are asking, this is number one. The application has been filed 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and this is 2021. And there is nothing to show for it. And there is a place I'm going. I'm going somewhere with this statement I'm making now, which we are going to discuss, later on in this program. Now, when you read the introduction here, it says, one, this communication is hereby filed to the Office of the Prosecutor, the OTP of the International Criminal Court, the ICC, pursuant to Article 15 of the Rome Statute, by Professor Goran Slota and Andrew, on behalf of the indigenous people of Biafra, a movement dedicated to self-determination of a former republic of Biafra in southeastern Nigeria, as well as on behalf of 17 individual citizens of Nigeria, the victims collectively, with the IPOB, the petitioner. Two, the petitioner submit that, based on the information set out herein, there is reason to believe that crimes against humanity within the jurisdiction of the ICC, in particular, murder, unlawful imprisonment, torture, enforcement, disappearance, other inhuman acts, and persecution have been committed in the context of politically and ethnically motivated state violence against primarily IPOB members and the Igbo people of southeastern Nigeria. Due to the absence of domestic criminal proceedings with respect to those potentially bearing the greatest responsibility for these crimes, in particular, but not limited to Nigeria current President Muhammad Buhari, and that was then, and in the light of the gravity of the act committed. Now, this is 93 pages, 93 good pages. The list can go on and go on. Factual evidences, citations, references, up to 93 good pages. And of course, like you said in the beginning, that you do not want to discuss this thing because a lot have been done and people are not aware of it. So just to let the public understand, what the IPOB have done all this while, when people go on social media to say IPOB under leadership of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is doing this or they are not doing that, so this is just one evidence of it, that as far back as 2016, you have started taking actions which are necessary, lawful, and legal actions against the Nigeria terrorist state. But up to now, nothing is happening. But I'm still going to come back to why I am showing this thing, because the actions of today is as a result of the failure of the international community to hit to the call of the Biafra people, of which you have done honorably well in that aspect. So this is just a side comment on what you have said before. Now, going to what you just said about how Nigeria, how it will benefit the other region and the component that makes up Nigeria, how it will benefit them when Nigeria is disintegrated. And you made mention of what you read, that Nigeria of yesterday, that yesterday is better than today. And that is very awkward fact. Very, very awkward fact that every president that comes to Nigeria, the last one will always be better than the new one. It's not only in the economic sector and all that. But the second question, or the third question I want to ask you is this. Now, looking at what is happening now, a lot of people don't understand what is going on in Nigeria. A lot of people still believe of course, they still believe somehow in Nigeria. They believe that the political structure of Nigeria is the major problem. And we, people following you, have a different view and a different opinion to this. And I think this is where the interest is clashing. Anybody that is shouting for Nigeria today believe that the problem is in the political structure. We are believing that the problem is not about political structure, but rather there is a motivated or there is a premeditated act to take our land and turn it into Islamic State of colonize us. So we are not looking at the aspect of the political structure anymore. It is a struggle for survival of our people. I want you to shed more light on this because, those supporting one Nigeria must have reason. And the reason what we have seen is that they are thinking that the political structure of Nigeria is the problem of Nigeria. So can you tell us more about, that it is not the political structure, rather something they should know about?
Thank you, somebody. Something they know about that pretend not to know about it. Everybody knows about the hegemonic tendencies of the Fulani Caliphate. We are well versed in the, should I call it shenanigans, of those people who are always expanding. There was a lecture that I gave that the Fulanis are the only people that continues to expand. Not expand in terms of population, but in terms of territorial influence and supplanting existing cultures and traditions with their own. When we say this thing, people say, "Oh, you're warmongering, you're profiling, and it is hate and all the rest of it." And I say it is pure nonsense. Look at the history of the Hausa people. Those of you that want one Nigeria, look at what is happening today in Kanu, Borno, the place we call Borno State. Look at the fate of those of them in the Middle Belt. Look at the fate of those of them, our brothers and sisters in Yoruba land, Yoruba. Even the Caliphate left their footprints there many, many years ago. in Kwara State. Many years ago, they overran Nupe people of Niger State. Many years ago, some of you don't know this. They forcibly tried to convert the Atta of a Gala to Islam. These things are there in our history books. They are everywhere. If one Nigeria means that our land should be surrendered to people from Senegambia, then death is a better option because it's not going to happen. We are the Biafran people, and within that Biafra, it contains a very unique race in the world called the Igbo race. They are very difficult, don't get me wrong, but they are very unique. Very, very unique. I don't think anybody is more stubborn than we are. I don't think anybody is more generous than we are. I do not believe that any race on this earth is more affluent in terms of natural blessing than we are. Anybody thinking they can use the guise of one Nigeria to take the land of our ancestors, that person is dreaming. Them and their cohorts, they are dreaming. And I will tell you why they are dreaming. They have tried before, over 300 years ago, to take that very land. They failed. Islam made it to the sea across West Africa. Islam made it to the Atlantic Ocean. The only place that Islam did not succeed in penetrating is the East. And when they came for that very jihad, we had no army at all. God Almighty in heaven fought for us. All their armies died. That thing they tried in Kwara State and succeeded, they tried it in Lower Benue, in Idoma and Igere lands, and they failed. All their armies died. The few that survived, they trekked back to Zaria from whence they came. I must warn anybody. All of these people agitating or saying, oh, we want one Nigeria, you are setting up yourselves to fail. You are as foolish as Hausa peasants. Hausa peasants did the same thing you're doing. Oh, allow them, give them land, give them cattle. By the time they woke up, all their kings were dead. Hausa kingdoms became Fulani Emirates. Where you have Hausa governors, you have Fulani governors. Telling you we are Hausa Fulani, we are Hausa Fulani. And I keep asking myself, why is it that people don't see all these things? Is it because, of course, that is why we call them a zoo, because they're very foolish. Without apologies to anyone. Because if you are not foolish, history is there for you to reference. These people asking you for land, asking you for rule and maintain peace, let's stay in one Nigeria. What are their antecedents? What have they done in the past? Because where we come from, from their behavior in the past, you now know if you can trust them or not. But it's Britain that is behind the scenes, remoting everything that's happening in this room. I am a British citizen. I hold a British passport. I know there are good men and women in England. It is a land of conscience. It was English people that left Southampton to come to America to build America, the land of the free. English people, yes. They traveled on a ship called Mary Rose. They landed at a place called New England. Conscientious, honorable, God-fearing people. They were the ones that helped slaves to escape from the south to the north. English people. But there is a breed we have now. Blood-sucking demons. Their job is to hold Africa down. To hold a black person down. And how are they doing it? They don't want you to tamper with any of their creations in Africa, all these idiotic states, all these artificial boundaries they gave us in Africa. No, because that is the beginning of the chain that is holding us down, and they know it. And the question is, who is a Nigerian? And I will ask you a simple, I want you to contemplate something, Simon, for me. No, I ask you now to go and prepare a Nigerian dish for me. What are you going to present? Because if you bring a wedu soup, somebody from the east will tell you that is not their food. They don't want to eat it. If you bring Alpha or a big item, somebody from Kanu State will tell you that is not our food. If you bring Tuwo, is it Tuwo Shinkafi or whatever they call it, somebody from the Middle Belt will say that is not our food. Ordinary food, there is no commonality. Is it the way they dress? So I keep asking myself every blessed day when I wake up, what is it that unites Nigeria together? And then I discovered it is two things. An innate desire to be corrupt, and secondly, stupidity. Those two things are very, very pivotal. They are the things driving the zoo. People talk about their founding fathers. When the Fulanis are talking, they say our founding fathers, and I keep asking them, Nigeria, your president, so-called, the dead Buhari, is older than the country. And where else in the world do you have a head of state that is actually older than the country in the 21st century? So tell me one place. It's only in Africa. Because they came to Africa and they built all these contraptions, and now in our idiocy and stupidity as black people, we accepted it. As I keep asking all the time, can you go to Europe to build a country for them? They will hang you that same day. If you cannot do the same thing in Europe that Europeans did in Africa, then why are you accepting it? Why are you accepting it? The key thing here is the way we reason. That is the problem with the black man, how we reason. People talk about Nigeria as their country, talk about Nigeria as their nation, as if Nigeria has any legs to stand on in the first place. Nigeria it has no meaning. It is a very derisory meaning. It means something very terrible and very awful. If I ask in Yoruba language, tell me the meaning of Nigeria, you cannot tell me. If I go to Igbo language, tell me the meaning of Nigeria, you cannot tell me. But I know the meaning of England. It's the land of the English people. I know the meaning of France, or is the land of the French people. It's only in Africa they have all this garbage. And we are, after our university, after our so-called PhD, FFD, SSD, common to reason like a human being, we cannot. Those are the things we are fighting. And those are the things that our detractors are very, very uncomfortable with. And that is why today you must pat yourself on the back, and every IPOB member for that matter, for the very simple reason. At last, people are beginning to reason with this. All thanks to what we are doing. So don't mind them. When they go back into the privacy of their homes, they consider that what we are saying is right. But outwardly, due to economic, political, or whatever thing that it is, they wish to toe the line of let's keep Nigeria warm. We are not fighting with anybody. All we are asking them to do is to reason for once in their useless lives to be able to. They say insult them. If you're an idiot, why won't I insult you? I'm asking you, go to a white man's land and tell them you want to create a country in Europe. That day they will roast you alive. They will, in fact, they will first of all inject you. They will say you are not well in the brain. They came to our land, they divided Yoruba into three. Some Yoruba is in Togo, some Yoruba is in Benin Republic, some are in the zoo. You're telling me that a Yoruba man who is in Nigeria is more related to a Kanu man who is in Borno, more than his own brother in the other side of Paraguay, in Porto Novo, in Benin Republic. They speak the same language, wear the same clothes, do eat the same food, everything is the same. But a white man, now we have French Yoruba, those who are in Benin Republic and in Togo. We now have English Yoruba who are in Nigeria. What type of God made us? And let me give you an example before I conclude on this very point. Simon, is this. Do you know that Togo used to belong to Germany before? Togo, they were Germans before. After the Second World War, they used Togo to compensate France because Germany lost the war. And these are human beings in Africa, for Christ's sake. I can't understand this type of nonsense. I can't understand it. And that is why I keep saying that the one of the greatest, disasters to befall me in life is to come from Africa. Where people do not reason. How can you have the same people? One part is French, the other part is English. Is English and is Yoruba and the French, are they the same people? The answer is no. And you're telling me that a Yoruba man inside Nigeria should be related with somebody in Borno State. Lord have mercy. Thank you very much, please.
Thank you very much, Onyendu. You have explained this thing very broadly. The point you have made very clear is that they knew that the problem of Nigeria is not based on political structure. They know it very well. The problem of Nigeria is that people are conquering our land, and they are trying to take our land and convert us into Fulani nation and caliphate, and that will be resisted with everything we have. Now, the next thing I want to talk about or ask you about is, of course, like I said, we are going to get tough, this evening. We are going to say things that will provoke a lot of people. And on that note, I'm going to bring to the screen or should I say, the Declaration of Human Rights on Freedom of Expression and freedom of speech. Now, when you look at what is going on in the zoo, they circulated some kind of threat letter to the medias in Nigeria, threatening them that you must not mention Fulani. When the Fulani have attacked and killed people, you must not mention them. So I'm going to read just very briefly a couple of these international laws. Like here, you see the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 19. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. Now, the same, another international covenant on human political rights, Article 19, everyone shall have right to hold opinion without interference. Everyone shall have the right to freedom of expression. The right shall include freedom to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas of all kinds, regardless of frontiers, either orally or written, or in print and in form of art, or through any other media of his choice. The exercise of the right provide for in paragraph 3 of this article carries with its special duties and responsibilities. It may therefore be subject to certain restriction, but this shall only be such as are provided by law and are necessary for respect of right or reputations of others, of national security or of public order or of public health or morals. Now, in this particular B, when the state becomes the sponsor of terrorism, of course, there is always exceptional clauses. Now, the African Charter on Human Rights and People's Rights, Article 9, every individual shall have the right to receive information. Every individual shall have the right to express and disseminate his opinion within the law. The resolution 169 on repealing criminal defamation law in Africa by the African Commission on Human Rights and People's Rights, 24 December 2010, underlined that criminal defamation laws constitute a serious interference with freedom of expression and impede on the role of the media as a watchdog, preventing journalists and media practitioners to practice their profession without fear and in good faith. Automatically, this failed in the Zoo Republic of Nigeria, commending state parties to the African Charter parties that do not have or have completely repelled insult and criminal defamation laws. Call on state parties to repeal criminal defamation. Of course, this is directly talking to Nigeria. Now, while I'm reading this, let us go to the European Convention as well, of Protection of Human Rights and Fundamental Rights. If something is saying everyone has the right of freedom of expression, this right shall include freedom to hold opinions and receive and impart information and ideas without interference and all that. Then the American Convention of Human Rights, Article 13, is saying the same thing. I don't need to go further. The Asian human rights is saying the same thing. Now, I am not going to ask you question from this what I have just read now. I'm not. It is not to ask you a question, but rather it is about what we are going to discuss from here. Now, now looking at the Nigeria state today, you see that when it comes to international law, we have what we call the state-sponsored terrorism. We have state actor, non-state actors. Now you have in Nigeria who have been internationally recognized by different nations, by many nations, as aiding, abetting, and supporting ethnic cleansing, supporting terrorism by their action, inaction, body language, policies, and name them. Now it is now lies in the hand of the citizen of this country. When you have a state sponsoring terrorists against its citizen, it lies in the hand of the citizen to rise up and protect themselves. On this note, you set up the Eastern Security Network against the non-state actors. And we know that the state actors are also there, aiding and supporting the non-state actors. When we are talking about non-state actors, we are talking about the Fulani herdsmen terrorists, we are talking about the bandits, we are talking about whatever name you can name them, they are all the same thing. Now, how do we combat the state actors in the presence of what is going on in Nigeria now, that everybody knew that the state actors are very visible in the field? The Army General called T.Y. Danjuma said, Nigeria Army collude with bandits. You have to rise up, otherwise you will all be killed one by one. Do you want me to play the video so you can, recall your memory on it?
I'm aware of what T.Y. Danjuma said.
All right.
And he said we should all go and buy guns as well. He said
exactly.
Go and buy guns to defend yourself.
And not only him, almost everybody is advocating for everybody to buy gun. But that is not the point. What I'm trying to say is that when you have in a country where you have a state-sponsored terrorist, how do you now, make sure that your people are safe against a state-sponsored terrorism, like we see in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Before I answer that question, before you started, you read out some conventions and some laws guiding people by the UN, by EU, by Africa, and all these people, all these very fanciful, beautiful words. They are meant for human beings in Europe and in America, in Australia. That is where these things work. It was not designed for animals in Africa, where people do not reason very well, where people do not think very well. You have a country called Nigeria that domesticated into its laws the rights of indigenous people. Africa Charter on Human Rights that gives you, Simon, the right to agitate for Tokonese Republic if you want. It is in the laws of Nigeria. You go to the court in Nigeria, a judge will be looking at this convention that is actually a law domesticated into law, and he will charge you or she will charge you with terrorism. People don't understand the mess that we're in. In a short while, I will answer your question. But until people realize that what we've been saying from day one is correct, their lives won't be any better.
Before you go further, Amadike, before you go further in addressing that, you just made a point now about the self-determination. So let me also bring in the self-determination and read it a little bit for people who don't understand. Not for you, of course, but for people who don't understand.
So they know it's Nigerian law. It's in the laws of Nigeria. When you do, they say you're a terrorist. You are being treasonable. But it's in their law. Nigerian law says you can agitate for anything you like. It's there in their laws. Please go ahead.
Now, apart from that, Nigeria being signatory to all these international laws, of course, it automatically becomes also they are compelled to respect that law. Here you have the right of a people to self-determination is a cardinal principle in modern international law and commonly regarded as a jus cogens rules. Now, these jus cogens rules we are going to go into now to tell you what actually, as you can see it, a peremptory norms is a fundamental principle of international law that is accepted by the international community of states as a norms from which no derogation is permitted. And when you look at this particular law or the treaty, I would say it is binding as such on the United Nations as authoritative interpretation of the charter's norm. It states that people, based on respect for the principle of equal right and fair equity of opportunity, have the right to freely choose their sovereignty and international political status with no interference. Now, everybody knows why United Nations was formed in the first place in 1945. Is to maintain peace. Peace, amongst nation and state. Now, before going into commenting on this, how do United Nations comes in? It is us that have to now educate them about their own laws. That the reason United Nations was formed is to maintain peace. Now, how do you maintain this peace in Nigeria? In Nigeria, in Sahel region, in West Africa, considering the situation at the moment, what do you think that the United Nations should do to maintain peace in this region? Because that is exactly what they set them up after the World War.
Yes, what they're going to do to maintain peace is to allow people that want to go via their own UN supervised referendum or referenda, which is the plural of referendum, to allow people to determine where they wish to belong to. We are in a world today where you can no longer shackle people to a dogma that is outdated. We live in a world where you can no longer compel people to do something against their will. That is called slavery. I do not see the reason why some people will still attempt to justify, the clamping down or the demonization of freedom fighters in Africa. One thing you must bear in mind is this. There is a grand conspiracy going on. This is something that Africans must understand. You know the issue of CFA in West Africa, the French franc. France uses euros. But in Africa, the parts of Africa they control, they use French francs. The money that these people use, the currency, the paper currency itself, they mint it in Paris somewhere, and they bring it to Africa. France is a country that I love very much. They supported Biafra, as a matter of fact. I care about them. The problem in Africa, unfortunately, are we Africans. You don't expect these people to come down to solve anything for you. It's for you to solve it yourself. I remember I went to a very influential diplomat's office in Brussels, at the EU. I went to his office and we presented our case about how they're killing us and everything, and that we are peaceful and everything. The man said, any day you people are serious, we will know. Do you understand the meaning of that? Any day you are serious, we will know. How can somebody come to your backyard, rape your mother, kill your sister? You're going to UN to go and complain to them. UN will say you're stupid. Don't you know what to do? It's only by repelling these demonic forces that the world cannot come in and say what is happening. If there is no war in Nigeria, UN will not talk. If there is no war in Nigeria, CNN will not cover it. If there is no war in Nigeria, there will be no emergency debate at the House of Commons. Never. At a time in your life, you have to say enough is enough. What we are asking for is defined in law, and the law protects it. It's called jus cogens, which means in Latin, nobody can deviate from this. Nobody can. It is a fundamental right to agitate for your freedom. It's your fundamental right to do what IPOB is doing. No court, nobody can derogate from it. That is international law, which the zoo signed up to. But we are there every day deceiving ourselves. Let's go to court. We caught terrorists in our, what's their crime? Oh, they belong to IPOB. And you have a journalist, a Yoruba journalist that went to university condoning such evil. We are in Africa. We are conscientious, or people who should be conscientious, condone evil because of one consideration or the other. And I give it to white. Sometimes I say they say I am promoting white supremacy. No, I'm not. I am just being very factual. That is one thing that white people have that we Africans do not have. When you make a law, you keep that law. That is why that statue of woman you see all the time that is blind, people don't know the meaning of it. You go to court, you see a woman with sword. On the left hand is maybe Holy Bible, I don't know, or Holy Quran. And you see that they covered her eyes. Go and check every law court. Do you know what it means? That the law is blind. So even you, as a judge or magistrate interpreting the law, you don't look at the ethnicity of those who are involved. You don't consider if they are rich or poor. You just interpret the law the way you see it. The law says that what IPOB is doing is correct. But somebody will go to police station and write and say, oh, they are terrorists. It's treasonable felon. Therefore, what is happening to us is coming from us, not from white people, not from anybody else. After all, the way that Britain is meddling into the zoo today called Nigeria is because we allowed it to happen. They're allowing it because the Fulani is benefiting from it. Typical black people. And I must remind you that white people came to Africa. The Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, the British, the Germans, the Belgians, they came to Africa. The conquering army, the European conquering army that took over the whole of Africa, were not Europeans, they were Africans. They come into Africa and they use Africans to conquer Africans. It hasn't left us till today. And these are the things that we are fighting. That is why I keep saying that the best thing that IPOB could do for black people is to change the way they reason. Once you change the way they reason, you will see all the difference in this. Remember when we used to tell our Yoruba friends and brothers that the Fulanis are coming? Nobody believed us. They mocked us, they ridiculed us, they said, even today, if you watch Chinese television, mostly Yoruba journalists in Chinese television, they are making the exact same mistakes that allowed the Fulanis to come this far. They never rose up to condemn them. They never interrogated this Janjaweedism, this march of the Fulani. And as you were saying this, Simon, something occurred to me. Do you know that the Attorney General of the Federation of Nigeria is now advocating that the Fulanis must have a ministry for cows, a commission for cows? Are you aware of it? It's a vanguard, Mr. And you are all in one Nigeria. 21st century, and you're discussing the movement of cows. There is no justification whatsoever. We are in the mess we are in today because we allowed it to happen. Any day we rise up and say enough is enough, the world will take notice. That's what we are doing. You asked about ESN. Why would ESN come? The first rule in nature is self-defense. It is so common. It is called tort law. T-O-R-T, tort law. Which means that even a mad person knows about it. You don't need to go to court to justify yourself. You come to my land, you kill my mother, you rape my sister, you cut them into pieces, and then you go. When I confront you, you tell me you want Ruga. You want Fulani in every state in Nigeria. Who told you that? If you're going to give this preferential treatment to cattle rearers, then why not motor spare parts dealers all over the country? Why don't you give them land and give them loans? People see the truth in the zoo and they keep meandering. They keep hiding from it. After all these years, look at the likes of Modo. After messing up for years, now his eyes absolutely open. They now know that what IPOB has been saying is right. That's the thing with our people. No single apology to any idiot, wherever they may be in the world. I'm in America. I don't give a damn. No apology to any idiot anywhere they are. ESN has come to stay. We are going to die there, all of us. Let them bring that their nonsense to our land and we'll teach them a lesson. They can do that always in Yoruba land. We take their land and go, bring it, we'll die there immediately. So they can see with their 2 eyes. Hausa may have fallen for them very cheaply and easily. Wagi or Gwari people may have fallen for them. Nupe may have fallen for them. Egala, sometimes of it may have fallen for them. But you see the land of Biafra. We will not surrender Biafra, never, ever, ever. There will be no Ruga, no cattle movement of any sort, none whatsoever. They can bring all the families they like, they cannot settle in Biafra land. They can settle elsewhere, but not in our land. ESN has come to stay without apologies to any idiot, to any fool. We don't apologize to any idiot. For the, did you see the lady that was caught up in? They raped her and they cut her into pieces. Did you see it? Did you see our mothers being raped in Enugu? It's all over the place. They came to him, but they massacred our people. All we did was to cry, to write on Facebook. Oh, please sign here. We want to petition the House of Commons. The curious that you will sign here. After signing, what happened? Our cases are there everywhere in the world. If you ask them, they say, no, we don't want Nigeria to break. No, we don't want. But America broke from British Empire. Canada is a free nation. Is that not correct? Under British influence before. Now you're telling me to do the same thing that you did to make America great. You're saying that I cannot do it because you're white and I'm black. God punish the idiot. God punish the bastard. I'm saying it openly. What you did in America to make America great, what you did in Australia to make Australia great, what the French people did because I'm a black man, you're telling me I have to give my land to a bunch of reprobates from the Sahel to rear their cattle in my village because I'm a Nigerian. God punish the idiot.
ONYENDU, that is why we are backing every of your action and every of your decision. You know, we are going to make sure that we take a decisive measures and action, whether it is going to bring the international community or whether they will still write our story like we are writing their own story